Well, I'd like to bring to you this young married couple, Kirk and Chastity Barker. We want to welcome the both of you to At Home. I want you to have peace and all good things. It's all going to be fine. But the beautiful thing why you're here is God wants you to tell your story of what He's done. He wants you to explain to people out there what He did to you and through you and what He saved you all from. So, Kirk, why don't you first give us a little bit of background of who you both are, where you're living, and then I want you to tell us your story.
Sure. Thank you for having us on your program. My beautiful wife and I have been married, I'll be 15 years this October. You know, praise God for, the great relationship that my wife and I have got. I grew up in, Wisconsin and joined the military right out of high school, and ended up being on 4 different posts stateside, and ended up getting out of the military in the Middle Tennessee area where I met my beautiful wife.
Okay.
I'll let her.
So she's a Southern belle.
Well, I grew up I was born in Iowa.
Okay.
But when I was 6, I moved to the Nashville, Tennessee area. And that's how we met. We actually met at Opry Mills Mall.
Okay.
And we talked for probably a month, and then because I was kind of nervous because it's like I knew that he was going to be the one, but I was just nervous. And then we went
Did
out
he
on
know
dates.
that? He eventually knew that.
I love at first sight. I saw a beautiful blonde walking through the mall, and
You said, I like her.
oh yeah, she's very, caught my eye right away.
Well, good. Well, why don't you tell, and you married, you have how many children?
We have 3.
Okay, so you have 3 children. Well, tell our family home about your faith journey. Were you born and raised, right? And so you were raised Catholic, you were baptized Catholic, right?
Yes.
Okay, and so tell us about your story about her pregnancy.
Sure. When my wife was pregnant with our son Cameron, she got extremely sick, and I think it was about 3 weeks to a month into, the pregnancy is when she started getting sick, losing 10 pounds a week, every week, just another 10 pounds. Another week goes by, another 10 pounds. And my beautiful wife was hospitalized most of that time. And eventually the doctor told us, look, there's nothing else that, I can do. If you don't terminate the pregnancy, you're going to die.
So where were you both in terms of your faith in the Lord, and in terms of pro-life, pro-choice? Where were you in your spirituality and moral mindset when you got this bad word from the doctor? Hey, if you don't have an abortion, you're going to die. They can't remedy your weight loss and dehydration and so on. I'm just interested, not only about just what was going on physically, but where were you guys in terms of your own faith?
In terms of my faith, I was a non-believer at that time. Like, so I grew up Catholic. My parents were divorced when I was around 12 or 13, and just put me in the downward spiral to turn my back on God. I denied God, and then one day God showed me I was wrong.
So, so at this point, really, you're not in a good place regarding the faith.
Correct.
Okay.
We had our faith in man when it should have been in God, and so when the doctor told us what he told us, we took him for his word. We're both young and didn't really know any better.
Right. And when a doctor makes a pronouncement, it carries a lot of authority and a lot of weight, and you're thinking, he must know everything, right?
Yes, I kind of questioned it, but I was like, he's a doctor, he knows what he's talking about. I was 21 years, I found out I was pregnant with Cameron 12 days before my 21st birthday, so I was young, and none of my family had ever went through what I did. I mean, of course, morning sickness when you're pregnant, but not losing 42 pounds in a month. And so, and I didn't believe in abortion, but at that time I thought if the mother's life was in jeopardy, or if it was rape or incest, that should be okay because of what happened. And then when everything happened to me, it made me, realize that it's not okay, and even though I didn't go through it, it still affects me today.
But it's interesting, and I hope that people can see themselves in you both individually and as a couple, because there are a lot of people who consider themselves pro-life, with exceptions. Even I was there at one point, in my life. And so, yes, overall I'm pro-life, but, life of the mother, rape, incident, these exceptions. until you fully understand, you know, that every human life is sacred, has dignity, worth, and value, no matter how they're conceived or what's going on. I didn't have that whole development, neither did you. I think there are a lot of people out there, and so hopefully as we go through this time of sharing, that people can get more established and more rooted, because to have that position, you know, can lead to having an abortion, because there's a lot of gaps. You know, it's not woven tightly. So that's where you were. You were feeling pretty lousy.
I was very, very sick. I know I weighed less at the end of my pregnancy than I did at the beginning of my pregnancy, and I mean, I was so sick, and I was, you know, my doctor just kept telling me, you're gonna die, you're severely dehydrated, and he came into the hospital room after, that was my second time in the hospital, and I had been in there like 2 weeks that time, and he told me that, you know, asked me how I was feeling, and I told him I still felt bad, and so he told me that I should have an abortion, because if not, you know, I'm gonna die. And my dad was in the room with me at the time, and, you know, we were asking him, is there gonna be any complications? Will I still be able to have children? And he told me there'll be no complications, and, you know, you'll be able to still have kids, and, you know, so, I mean, I trusted him, you know, he's a doctor.
So from the time he gave you this recommendation, with all the authority that he has and your vulnerability, how long was it from the time he said what he said to you guys conversing, and I guess your father was there, maybe other family members part of it?
I think it was probably about 4 days.
Really?
We just kind of, you know, talked about it over the weekend, and like I really didn't want to do it, but he told me I was going to die, and you know.
And that was an exception for you.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I mean, you know, I'm almost 21 years old, and or I think I just had turned 21 at the time, and you know, I just was trusting him.
So what were your thoughts? You were just saying, I've got to rescue my wife here, or what? What were you thinking?
Yeah, it is a tough position to really be in, because how does one choose, you know, the life of my beautiful wife or the life of our son? And that's not a decision you take lightly.
Right, right. And so then did the doctor referred you to an abortion clinic in town?
Yes, they set everything up, and they told me where to go, and I think I got out like of the hospital on I think it was around a Thursday, and that Monday I was supposed to, I know it's February 26th, I was supposed to go because that's my best friend's birthday, so I was supposed to go that day to the abortion, and Kirk was with me, and then my best friend and my mom, we all went, and it was just really quiet on the way there, and we get there, and
You're all in the same car?
Yes, yes.
And so there's Kirk, your mom,
And your best
your best
friend.
friend, you.
Yes.
And what day is this?
It's February 26th.
Do you know if it's a weekend?
No, I think it was a
During the week?
Monday, but I'm not for sure. It
Okay.
was during the week.
So you're making your way, you're in the car. Any conversation in the car?
I think we were just, it was quiet.
Yeah, quiet.
Yes, because I was just how I was feeling, and, you know, my mom didn't really want me to do it, but she was scared too. She, you know, she was trusting the doctor, and so we get there, and then I see the sidewalk advocates, but I was scared, like I didn't know what they were gonna do. I didn't know if they were gonna yell at me and scream at me, and which.
How many people were out there? This is so you're going to the abortion mill or clinic, and you're driving up, and you're seeing people out front. Is it 1, 2, 5?
I believe it was 2.
Yeah, I think so.
Two people?
Yeah, it was just 2.
Are they there just themselves? Do they have signs? Do they have images? Do you remember?
The only sign I remember is, you know, a baby in the womb, real life baby in the womb. And when my wife saw it, really, you know, kind of made her break down even more and cry. You know, she was so weak she couldn't even walk on her own. So I was holding her on one side and her best friend on the other as we, you know, just even tried to walk her into the clinic. And, you know, that had a huge impact on us, and we praise God for, you know, putting in their hearts to be there that day.
Did you? I'm
Were
sorry.
you praying at all? Were you saying anything, or
Were you asking
prayer
for-
wasn't on your radar screen at this
No,
point?
I was just I was just thinking, oh my gosh, you know, this is gonna happen. This is gonna happen. It's just going through my mind, and
Were you? So that there's an echo within you There's something wrong with this. I mean, there's an echo there in terms of your conscience, in terms of maybe something you've heard of formation, or just the natural law. Were you afraid for yourself also?
I wasn't really afraid of myself. I was just scared for my baby. You know, like when I walked in there, it was just, I get goosebumps thinking about it. It was very, very just like cold and sterile. Like it was just not a happy place. It was very down. The mood was down. There was a lot of people in there. Like I was in shock at how many people were in there gonna have an abortion. Like, because I had never been in one before. I mean, I was in total shock. And I got my paperwork and I went and sat in the back of the room, and I thought at the time it was my conscience coming over me, and I couldn't physically not pick up the pen to fill out the paperwork, and I turned to him and said, I don't care if I die. I can't kill our baby, because I didn't know if it,
You didn't know if it was a boy or a girl, because it was early gestation
Yes.
development at that point.
How many girls, were they all girls waiting to get served to have abortions? Were there guys with them?
There was some guys, and I can't really exactly remember. I remember
Yeah.
a lot of girls, but there were quite a few guys in there too.
What did they look like? Do you
They
remember
were
their faces?
young. They were young. I don't really. I was in shock, but I just
Sure.
remember they were young. They looked probably around my age.
But it wasn't a happy place.
No, it wasn't happy.
They weren't
at all.
happy.
No.
Yeah. And so you're sitting there, it's cold, bad feeling. What were the people like who were assisting you, the professional people?
Just like kind of how you go into a normal doctor's, office. They just, hand you your paperwork, fill out your paperwork, take your money, and call you back.
So what was your response when she gets the clipboard and she's looking at the work and she's looking at you saying, I don't care if I die? I mean, what is your response when she says that to you?
I was extremely happy.
Yeah.
And, I want to do what I need to do to help support her, give her the encouragement, because we're already in a bad spot. And, I'm looking at my wife just not even be able to really stand on her own, but she'd rather give life to our son. And so, I did whatever I could to support her through that and help her in any way.
And your mom was with you?
Yes.
So what was your mom's reaction?
She just just let out like a big sigh, and my best friend too. Like they didn't want me to do it, but they were there to support me because they were confused. They
Sure.
they trusted the doctor as I did.
And really what was driving it was fear, confusion, misinformation, right? And you're just being innocently led,
Yes.
and you're so vulnerable. I mean, you're weak, you're distraught, you're dehydrated, how that affects your thinking, everything that's going on with you.
Fear, you said. What else did you say?
Confusion.
Misinformation, but also the law. The law is on the side of death, not the natural law, not God's divine law, but the law is driving this too. This is legal. You were believing in exceptions. This is the case. I mean, it's a lot, and without exempting, women that will choose, to go this route, there are mitigating circumstances that play into things, because it's not just all about her. It's about our culture. It's about the medical profession. It's about doctors that say, you need to do this, or you're going to die yourself. So there you are, and then you say, I'd rather die myself than to
Kill my baby.
You felt, were those your words, like I would be killing my own baby?
Yes, I felt signing that paperwork. I was just signing his death certificate.
It came home to you when they were saying, you need to
Yes.
sign off on this.
Yes, that's like at the time I felt like it was my conscience talking to me, and because I grew up in a loving home, two-parent. My parents were madly in love, like high schoolers, and and I just. It's like I just couldn't do it. I'm like, how can I live if I kill my child? How am I supposed to go on in my life? And
Right.
It's interesting because you speak about conscience and that you felt like that was quickening and coming alive. And we work in a pregnancy medical center, so we're often speaking with women who come in thinking they want an abortion. And we talk about awakening conscience, and that these consciences are being awake because we have a conversation with them. We're not an abortion center and going to be moving them along just in terms of this is good for you or this is right and you have the right to do this. And that whole thing of awakening conscience and how some don't want to be awakened. It's like, I tell our ladies that counsel, it's like you're going in 3 o'clock in the morning and putting on a light.
Saying it's time to wake up.
That wasn't
Nobody's
that wasn't your
happy.
case, but your conscience was being awakened, and it finally awakened when you were really getting to the valley of decision.
Yes.
And you have to sign off on this, and then something was quickening. There was stuff deposited in you somewhere along the line, plus the natural law. This is something that we know this is wrong, especially as a mother carrying someone. And so I just think this is important that people get this, that the closer you get to having to make a decision, the reality's there. The conscience has an opportunity to be awakened, or you could be developed by the world's culture, by the abortion culture, by the throwaway culture, and that will develop your conscience. Well, let's pause here. An intriguing story. Kirk and Chastity Barker. It's Cameron's chance, pro-life advocacy. We're going to go through this story, so please don't go away. There's plenty more to come. We hope that it'll bring, in the end, hope and healing and empowerment to you to build a new culture of life. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back. We're speaking with Kirk and Chastity Barker. The name of their ministry is Cameron's Chance, Pro-Life Advocacy. You can find them on Facebook, and there's plenty of information that you should be seeing. If you're thinking about an abortion yourself or you've had an abortion, you can always go to Option Line, and they can get you the help and the resources that you need. Or perhaps you have a doctor who's not a pro-life doctor, or that might say, well, I think you need to have an abortion, or you do need to have an abortion. There's a group called the Catholic Medical Association. I'd recommend them, and also Physicians for Life. And so we hope that not only their story of being in a situation that led them down the road of abortion, but that you will know the resources that can help you in your choice for life or to find healing after abortion. Well, we were sharing about your conscience being awakened and having to sign off. Thank God they make you sign something.
Yes.
They didn't speak to you at this point about what abortion is, what it does, and so on. You didn't get any of that information. But just the signature. And somehow, I think God used that in your life to say, well, this is not just about what the doctor's going to do to me and to whatever this is inside of me. Now I'm getting, this is my child. And I'm signing off. I'm an accessory to the killing of my child. I can't do that. And that, boom. And then he's supportive. He's like, yeah, I'm relieved. And everybody's really relieved. It's amazing how often we do know the right thing deep inside of us. And sometimes there are people who are accompanying us that are really have a sense that it's wrong. And I think we fall into, well, whatever Chass wants to do, you know, and we're going to support you whatever you do. And that's not the position we want to take either. Because if this is really a human being made in the image and likeness of God, then we need to be able to say, empathize with the person. We know there's fear, and especially in your situation where it's a life-threatening situation, and we all acknowledge that, but we're going to rally everyone and everything around you and every resource around you. And you're so vulnerable. We want to walk with you through life. We can't be a part of facilitating this, but we want to facilitate everything that's for life for you. Those are the lessons to be learned. So how long does it take from the time this bulb goes off, hey, I don't want to be a part of the killing of my child, and he's saying, I'm with you, and everybody else saying, yeah. What happens then? How do you make your way out?
I think he took the clipboard back up to the people, the receptionist, and then I remember we walked out, and I remember my body was trembling, I was shaking, I was crying, and we went back to my mom's house, and my mom, she was like, I told her, I was like, if you want to go to work, and I told him, you want to go to work, that's fine. And then and my best friend, she had left, I was like, I'm fine. And then when I got home, or got there at my mom's house by myself, I guess the thoughts were racing through me, and I couldn't be by myself. Like, it was probably, I don't know, 2 to 4 months before I could be like alone, because it really traumatized me. I didn't realize how much it would affect me, and I mean, I didn't even go through with it, and it traumatized me that much.
So you mean it's really not like getting a tooth extracted? It's really not like getting your tonsils out? It's really not like
getting a tattoo?
You got even before it, but you got, no, this is huge. There's more here. And just to be that close is post-traumatic stress.
Yes.
Never mind, may God heal and forgive and restore any woman who's had an abortion, but you didn't even follow through, but you got that close. And that's what trauma is about, being close, seeing a death, a killing, a murder, some sort of situation. You were there. You were in the death camp. Killings have taken place, and you're considering that, and now the light has come on. So how did you walk through your own healing process, or is it an ongoing process, where you had to deal with, well, what was that all about, and where was I in it? What kind of person am I? Am I this one? Am I that one? You must have went through all that.
I just, I kept thinking, I can't believe I almost killed my child. I got to get better. I got to get better. I just, both my parents, or my dad's passed away, but both my parents very strong growing up. I had two very strong supportive, so that came to my mind, and just talking with Kirk and talking with my best friend and talking with all my family, it just, it took a lot, but still, like, I know a couple years ago or a few years ago when the October Baby movie came out. I couldn't even like watch it when they were talking to the girl, in the office about what happened to her. I couldn't watch it. Like, it's, watching stuff on TV or videos or whatever, it still affects me to this day, and like in that movie, just hearing what that girl went through, even though she lived and all the problems medical problems, I think that could have happened to Cameron, and I would have felt
That's your son.
horrible.
Yeah.
That's my child.
So now you're out, you're still in a very fragile place in your healing, but now you got to come up with a medical plan, right? Because you've got to go forward. So do you call the doctor and say, you're not our doc anymore, we come up with another plan? Do you ever call him back? Do you get referred to someplace else? Like, what is your medical plan?
Well, I didn't contact that doctor anymore. I was too traumatized.
Yeah.
And so some of the nurses had told me about a different doctor. And so I made an appointment with him, and it was God, but at the time I didn't realize it.
Sure.
I started feeling better within like 2 weeks after everything happened, and it was just like it was a roller coaster.
Yeah. Where in the process did you get an ultrasound?
After my second doctor, I had the ultrasound. With the first doctor, he did the heartbeat, and so that made it feel really, real.
But he didn't do an ultrasound, which is really interesting. This one that would recommend abortion didn't show you an ultrasound.
Yeah, I didn't even have, like, the nurses at the hospital had to request blood work. He didn't even do that.
What was it like for you when you saw the ultrasound of Cameron?
It was amazing just seeing him, and just, it was relief too, knowing, in the ultrasound he looked okay, he looked healthy, because I was worried.
Right, something would be wrong with him.
Yes, and I didn't know, and then they were saying, you may have twins, and part of me was like, please let it be one of each, because I don't want to do this again, but then they said about, I had one, so.
Yeah. Did you ever get to see the ultrasound? Were you with her?
Yes.
Yeah. What was it like for you?
It was great.
It brought it home.
Oh yeah,
brought him
definitely.
home.
It was great just seeing him move around. He was, I want to say very healthy in his movement.
Yeah.
He liked, you could see him just kicking and punching and having all the fun that a baby does in the womb. So.
Thank God. And you went full term.
Yes.
Okay, so you had full term, healthy baby, healthy delivery, and it was all good.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sure,
Praise God.
Let's take an email.
All right, we have an email. It says, my friend was considering an abortion because she thought that was her only option. When she confided in me, I showed her the different sources of aid and support that she could obtain. How can we get the word out to young women that there are alternatives to abortion when the culture promotes it so heavily? And this is Grace Ann from Chatham, New Jersey.
I would say, you have to make sure you surround yourself. Try to find good people that you can surround yourself with, because if you don't, then you're gonna go most likely down that path. And you know, nowadays you have the internet and there's so much stuff you can look up
Right.
to find places, because with Cameron it was in 2002, so you
Right.
had the internet but not like you do
Right.
nowadays. But I would say definitely people and good, you know, medical support staff as what you
And
need.
we, you know, I served as a, you know, pastor in another tradition for years and was pro-life. But when I would hear of a situation, you know, in our parish, and somebody was pregnant and there was I would start dealing with it then in the midst of all the other things I was doing, and I didn't have the resources right in front of me. Today, you can really have them. We've mentioned Option Line. You need to know that, optionline.org. If you just put that in and put your zip code in, it will give you hundreds and
Thousands.
over thousands of pregnancy medical centers where you are in your zip code or nearby, so that you can have a conversation, so that you can get help, so that you can know everything that's there. If you just know that, that's so important. You can always call your diocesan office. They should know. They have, you know, pro-life outreach and committees in each of the parishes. But knowing Option Line in and of itself, Option Line as well will help you with post-abortion healing. So maybe it's, you know, you went ahead with the abortion. Where do I get help? There's groups all over the place now. Rachel Vineyard Retreat Weekends, Project Rachel, Protestant Ministries,
Surrendering the
Catholic Ministries.
Secret,
And so all
Forgiven
this
and
is
Set Free.
So
There's
do
lots
it
of
now,
ministries.
is what I'm saying to you. Do it now, get the resources. If you don't know them, right, Jim and Joy at EWTN.com, Jim and Joy at EWTN.com will get you all the resources so that you're not doing it when you're in a crisis.
Right.
And you just know what to do.
Because, you know, you two are very similar to many people that are out there, because, you know, like that caller who's, what are my other options? Well, and some states have different laws. In New Jersey, they don't have abortion laws. In the state of Alabama, we do have abortion laws. It's required by our state that you have to have an ultrasound before you have an abortion. So she's going to have to see and hear her baby. Also, you have what's called the right to know, where every client that comes into our center, and many centers all over the country, you're going to have that abortion procedure explained to you. Do you want the abortion pill? How's that going to go down? You want suction and curettage, the most frequently performed abortion under 12 weeks. We go through pictures, we go through emotional, physical consequences that are going to happen to you.
Yeah.
So that if she says, and usually on the journey, she's like, no, I don't want to do that, because her conscience has been awakened. Because the law of God is written on all of our hearts, whether we got God on our radar screen or not. Because we are all made in the image and likeness of Him. And we know in and of ourselves what's good and right. Do we listen to it? Do we shut it down? Most of the times we anesthetize it. We smoke it away, we drink it away, we don't want to hear it, because we're trying to medicate, we self-medicate what we don't want to know.
Let's share about when this took place and where you are now. You know, how many years was it? I mean, now you're an advocate for life, you're stepping out. How many years lapsed between your coming out, birthing Cameron, and then your decision to come out and to speak publicly?
About 13 years.
13 years.
Yeah.
Why? Why 13 years?
Our hearts were full of anger at the decision we made to terminate our son, at the doctor. And if we would have found God sooner, that would have helped that problem. What really helped us is learning how to trust God. And then, you know, by trusting God, it turned that anger into love. And that's when we realized that, you know, God put it on our hearts to, you know, share our story, to encourage people to, you know, be out on that sidewalk and praying. It only takes one person to make a difference. That's it, just one. And a lot of folks may not realize they make a difference, and that's why, you know, we want to, you know, share a story to encourage them to know, because they may not hear. We can't go back and thank that person, you know, from 15 years ago. You know, we have no way to contact them. We don't know their name. So,
Yeah.
you know, we just hope, you know, one day our story will reach them, and so they
Right.
know
Well, hopefully your
that they made a
story is
difference.
reaching that person today. And if not that person, there are hundreds and thousands of what's called sidewalk counselors that are out in front of abortion mills all over the country, different parts of the world. We thank God for you. We bless your lives. And they're maligned. They are portrayed in ways that they really aren't, most of them. And like you said, there was just two people out there, and one of them had a sign of a baby, right? The preborn baby.
A baby in the womb.
Baby in the
Yeah,
womb.
preborn.
And like, you saw that, and that went beyond all the rhetoric and discussion, and I'm pro-choice, I'm pro-life, and then all of a sudden you say, gee whiz, this isn't about a discussion, really, although that's important. It's about, bam, I see with my own eyes, you know, what's inside of me, which I know anyway, but I'm kind of denying, and this culture's denying it, and all of a sudden it's like, if they weren't there, then what? Well, maybe you still would have decided it with the thing, maybe not. And your word for them is what again?
Yeah, sure. We wrote a tribute, you know, to them to thank them. And what it was is, we will never know your name. You may not even know that God placed you there to save our son. 15 years ago, you stood on the sidewalk and prayed for us. It was your prayers that helped save our son. Words can never express our gratitude for what you have done. Let the words of this message be a constant reminder of the great work that you do, to be a reminder that you made a difference. We didn't know who you were, but you cared for us as if we were your own. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We're forever grateful. God bless.
It's beautiful,
So beautiful.
well written, well said. And again, that's for every sidewalk counselor, every prayer warrior that's out there, all of our 40 Days for Life people who are out there
All
year
over the
after year,
world.
all over the world. There's another 40 Days for Life coming up, I think, September 27th. Go to 40 Days for Life, the number 40, 40daysforlife.org. And that ministry of being out at the death camp, we were reading in our lessons, it said that our Lord's mother and her sister or relative, Mary, another Mary, then Mary Magdalene, there's a bunch of Marys at the cross, and John were there at the crucifixion of Christ. I just meditated upon that, those that were out there. And that, to some degree, is what the sidewalk counselors, what people praying, people holding signs, or people who are just out there. Numerous of these people have had abortions. Some of the best counselors I've ever known have been people who had abortions in the same clinic where they are. One of the most fantastic was a woman, whatever reason, had 3 abortions in this mill and finally got what she was doing was wrong. She was the best counselor. People would turn to her, she said, I had abortions in there. Let me tell you about it. Thank you for standing at the cross. Thank you for being there as little children are killed and nobody's there. Possibly no minister, no priest. You're there to commend their souls to Almighty God. You're there to witness and see people change minds and hearts. You're there after they don't change their minds and hearts, when they come out, and you can still look at them and say, we love you. There's help for you. There's healing for you. You know, we're still here. Now you know. But we're here for you. Because Christ didn't love you more before you did this and now you did this. Christ loves you the same. There are consequences, but he doesn't love you because you didn't do it more than the woman who did do it. See what I'm saying? He loves you the same as he loves her who didn't make the decision. There were ramifications, there were consequences. But Christ loves you, especially when we're at our worst. He loves us. Let's take a break at this point. We're going to hold over Kirk and Chastity. It's Cameron's chance, pro-life advocacy. Maybe you want them to come out, speak in your parish, in your church, to bear witness to the gospel of life. We'll be right. Let's share a few minutes that we have left. So a number of people have seen, we saw, you know, a couple of videos of you all, one as a family, and then you in a parish sharing kind of your own deeper conversion and this story. And this is now you really feel is your pro-life advocacy work, is to share the story, including parishes and churches. Share more with us.
Sure. We'd like to encourage everybody to visit our Facebook page, Cameron's Chance Pro-Life Advocacy. We have a lot of great interviews on there and videos. And you know, one of the most important ones on there, of course, is the story of conversion. It's appropriately titled From Non-Believer to Believer to Follower of Christ Jesus. Because, you know, when I was a non-believer most of my life, I turned my back on God. I denied God. And then, you know, one day God showed me I was wrong. You know, and that was 15 years ago when, you know, he saved my wife and son. That's when we started becoming a believer, but we didn't realize there was much more. And as learning how to trust God and follow God, that really led us into this. And one of the scriptures that God showed me to trust him was Job 11:13 through 20. And just at the beginning of 13 through 20, it tells us, if you prepare your heart, you'll stretch out your hands toward him. If iniquity is in your hand, cast it far away. And let not injustice dwell in your tents. Surely then you'll lift up your face without blemish. There's more to that scripture, but that's the short part of it that really teaches us that anything that could take our focus away from God, remove it from us. Just cast it aside.
So this one video that we saw of you in the parish, and we only got a minute or two left. How did you wind up in that church? That was one of the first times you shared your story.
Yes, I was at a Bible study, a men's group, and a Catholic priest walks in, and it was really great because we're like, okay, Father, what brings you here? And he's just like, God told me to be here today. And I ended up standing up and just sharing briefly about a minute for, our story. And that's, I guess, when he realized why God brought him there. And he invited me to come speak at St. Mary Magdalene Catholic Church. And December 7th, 2014 is when God blessed me with that opportunity to, share a story at 3 Holy Masses. And
Why is it important for parishioners to hear a story like yours, and not only the conversion aspect, but the story of going into the mill, coming out, a pro-life witness? Why do you think that's important?
It's to help people understand that every child is a blessing from God, and it's not it's not something you just want to throw away. We like to encourage couples to choose life, and for the fathers, it really begins a lot with the fathers to be there to support, your wife, to support, and the mother of your child, help them, give them the resources they need to choose life and put them on that path to do so, and to remove the fear from their hearts. I know my wife was just scared to death, and I wanted to do what I can to, help her.
Well, look at you both now, speaking to the whole world about the gospel of life. So thank you so much. You're a blessed couple. God bless you and your children, especially that Cameron, who's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today. And I want to personally invite you once again to the EWTN Family Celebration, September 9th and 10th, the DCU Center in Worcester, Massachusetts. You can hear, of course, great speakers, Michael Warsaw, Doug Keck, Father Pacwa, Marcus Grodi, and be part of a live television audience. Also, the night before is the Media Missionary Gathering. If you're an EWTN Media Missionary, I want to see you there, 6 p.m. Friday evening, the same venue. What we share today is about the sacredness and dignity of every human being. That's the starting point for human relationships, that in each person is the image and likeness of God. If we would but respect every human being, this will heal our ills between men and women, between races, between religions, the unborn and the born. Every life is sacred, and every life is the face of Jesus Christ. And we're looking for his face in you. God bless you, all of your loved ones. Keep it on EWTN. Bye now.